Hey guys, what's up? Vance here, back with another video finally. Today, I kind of want to talk to you guys a little bit about something that, probably one of the most important lessons that I've learned over my life and kind of how that relates back to gaming. It's a bit of a departure from my normal content, but this is a conversation that I've had with multiple people in my life over the last couple of weeks. And I think it's just something that really needs to be heard, especially for my gamers out there. Real quick, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, I do want to just thank everybody so much for subscribing to the channel while I've been gone. I know I haven't put up a video in almost 2, maybe 3 months now, but people have been subscribing to the channel. People have been following me over on my Twitch channel where I hadn't been live for almost a month. And people have been leaving these great, wonderful comments saying how much they like my content. So thank you so much. I really appreciate everything that you guys have said and everything that you guys are, all this love and support you guys are giving me. I just recently got a whole new setup. As you can see, this is probably a very different look from my camera. I got a nice new webcam that I can kind of very quickly shoot some videos and put together content more quickly for you guys. I got a new setup of monitors so I can kind of more easily work my workflow around it. And I'm really excited to make some new stuff for you guys. So without further ado, let's jump in and let's talk about failure and what that means. All right, so when you hear the word failure, it's kind of a scary word. People get a little nervous or turned off by the word failure. So according to the Oxford Dictionary, the word failure actually means a lack of success or omission of an expected or required action. And typically when you think of the word failure, a lot of people think of it as like the opposite of success, right? They think, oh, well, I failed at it, therefore I did not succeed. I disagree. When I think about the word failure and what that actually means, I think of it more as the learning or the steps towards growing and succeeding towards something. Failure's kind of a weird topic, right? Nobody likes to lose. Nobody likes to fail. Everybody wants to succeed. But failure is an incredibly important part of learning and growing and really just experiencing something new, right? Failure is not the same thing as a mistake, okay? A mistake is something that you could have controlled, right? You are running through a dungeon in World of Warcraft and you know exactly where you're supposed to go, you know exactly what enemies you're supposed to attack, but you accidentally step a couple of steps forward and you accidentally pull an extra pack of enemies that you didn't need to. That's a mistake. That's something that you could have controlled, but you didn't. Now, mistakes are obviously natural, it happens, and I'm not saying that mistakes are necessarily bad, but the mistake is not a failure. A failure is you did not complete the expected outcome. So with that definition, I want to bring up an interesting quote that I remember reading in like my 4th grade classroom. It's by this great hockey player that I've heard of. I know nothing about hockey. Named Wayne Gretsky. He states, "You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take." And if you think about that quote, and I mean really think about it, it really tells you that in order to succeed at something, you have to fail. You can't really succeed at something that you never try to do. If you're not attempting things that you're not comfortable with, then you're never going to be good at it. For example, when I started this YouTube channel, I had only done maybe a couple of quick videos, just kind of on a whim, just videos with my friends, or like a quick recording from Twitch that I just cut together through a free software and called it that. But I knew that I wanted to try to make some stuff that I think could be useful to people. And I think one of the ones that I was the most excited about was the new player series that I did for World of Warcraft, where people could kind of come in, they could watch these videos, they could understand how do they even start playing this game if they've never played it before. Because a lot of times what happens is somebody starts something new, they watch a couple of videos about it, or they'll just try it without really having any background. They'll fail to succeed. They might not attain the goals that they had. They might not get where they thought they would in a certain period of time. And then they decide, oh, well, I failed. I'm not going to try that again. And then they quit. But for me, I think that failure is incredibly important. I think that the failures that I've experienced over the course of my life have been the most important pieces of me becoming who I am today, being better at video games, being better at being a husband, being better at just being a better person. So let's talk a little bit about failure and why it's a good thing, right? When you attempt something new in life and you've never done that before, it's a new chance for your brain to start gathering information and thinking in different ways. For example, I took some coding courses when I was in college, and I had never done any programming whatsoever, and I had very little understanding of what it actually meant. And so going in, I was pretty much determined that I was going to fail at this class. Maybe not get an actual F and like completely fail out, but I didn't think I was going to achieve anything terribly useful. Now, what I decided to do was kind of just tackle it from the idea that I have no idea what I'm doing. I am going to mess things up, and I'm just going to take that as an opportunity to push myself further and get better at this abstract thing that I've never done before. And over the course of my classes, I think I took 2 or 3 of them, I got okay at it. I was never good at programming. I still suck at programming for the most part, but it is something that's kind of fun. And every once in a while I get, get a crazy idea and I want to make something happen. And so, my friends and I, we started coding a Discord bot. Well, nothing ever happened with it. I've tried doing some scripting and stuff for work purposes or for home computer stuff. And it's like very super basic stuff. But what those classes and what these attempts at doing these coding projects were good for was not so much for the end product and like the thing that I actually wanted to create. That never really happened. But what it did do is it helped me start thinking about things in a different way. If I was trying to program this, how would I think about it? And then over time, it stopped being if I was trying to program this, it was just the critical thinking piece of that project. So if this is where I'm at, and these are the projects, like these are the problems I'm trying to solve, and this is the end goal, this is what I want to create. How do I bridge that gap, right? And over the course of doing these programming like projects, it kind of helped me start thinking about it from that perspective rather than just using my normal problem solving. It kind of helped build that problem solving, that logic skill. Plus, on top of that, having these things that I've attempted to do have created this, kind of desire to like, well, maybe in the future, if I have another interest in this, I can come back, I can kind of see what I was trying to do with this, and then I can take that and move it forward into the next project. Another really great example is gaming. For a long, long time, when I started out in World of Warcraft, especially when I was playing the classic, the vanilla version when it first came out, I really didn't know anything about the game. Most of us didn't, most of us didn't have any access to the beta. So when it came out, it was brand new to like almost all of us. The first time I created a character, I was a Tauren druid. I think I got it to level 12, maybe 13. I got my bear form. I said, that was cool. And I quit because I didn't know what else I was supposed to do. I got my bear form thing. I had a quest that told me to go to the Barrens, but the Barrens was way over there and there was enemies that were too strong that I couldn't kill. So it's like I couldn't get around them. And I was like, you know what? I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do at this point. I'll just quit. I ended up coming back to the game about 6 months later because I thought it was really interesting and I heard my friends talking about it and they were saying all these crazy things about raiding and dungeons. And I was like, what the heck is all this about, right? So I started over. I made a new character. Played a Night Elf Rogue. I misspelled its name because I was like 12 and stupid. I called it Night Rouge. And over the course of playing this character, I kind of started to understand a little bit more about how the game works, right? What is coin for? Well, it's supposed to train your skills. And what do I need to do these quests for? Well, obviously they're for experience points, but like understanding more and more about the game led me to the point where I made my paladin, which was my first real main character. I got my paladin to, I believe, about level 53 or 54 before the Burning Crusade came out. And at the end of the vanilla experience, when Burning Crusade was getting ready to release, I had felt like I knew everything there was to know about this game. Dungeons, easy. What's a raid? Yeah, that's high level stuff. Nobody does that. Only sweaty nerds do raiding, right? So when I got into the Burning Crusade and I got up to level 70 and I started working on gearing up my character, and a really good friend of mine, Josh, came up to me and he was like, hey man, my guild is doing a Karazhan raid this weekend and we need a tank. Do you want to join? I was like, yeah, sure. I don't really know anything about raiding and I don't really know that much about like what I need to do. And he's like, oh, don't worry. We have a protection paladin. He can give you the ropes. He'll tell you all about what you need for gear and things like that. So I reached out to this guy and we're talking back and forth and he tells me all these different things I need to know about raiding and all this scary information, right? So I get to these minimum level for defense cap and blah, blah, blah. And we get into the raid. And here I was thinking it was these big 40-man, like scary things that all these sweaty nerds did. And meanwhile, I get into the Ventrilo server and everybody's just goofing off, having fun. We're killing some stuff and we start attacking this boss. And then the boss dies. I'm like, oh, this isn't that bad. And then we get to the next boss. And the next boss was Morose. If anybody did Karazhan back in the day, Morose was a very, very hard boss for the tank specifically. The tank had to have like a very specific set of gear. They had to have a pretty good knowledge of when to use their defensive abilities and how to hold threat, because there were, 5 different enemies in this encounter. And you had to plan like, okay, we're going to kill this one first, and then we're going to, crowd control the rest of these. And one of the tanks has to hold Morose while we deal with these other ads. And so I was put on the ad duty because this other guy was the main tank. He was supposed to be a lot stronger. And we fought Morose and we died. We fought Morose and we died. And over the course of the next basically hour and a half, we just kept dying and kept dying. And when the healing officer chimed up, they were like, hey, what is going on? Why are you dying so much? The other tank said, you know what? Fine, put the other tank on, which was me. And he said, let's see how he does against Morose. And we killed it in 2 attempts. It was at this point that I realized, like, hey, I kind of understand what I'm doing here. And maybe this isn't so scary, but before this, I was almost terrified. I was like, well, I don't know anything about this stuff. Like, I don't want to come in here and mess everything up. But if it hadn't been for that first raid that I ever did, I wouldn't be where I am today. Now I'm the guild leader of a raiding guild that we're, finally stepping into Mythic, and, we might be having some trouble, but we're getting there. Leading my guild has been another one of those really interesting things where it's like, I have absolutely failed at things. I've called people out for the wrong things. I've said the wrong things to people. We've removed people that didn't need to be. We've added people that shouldn't be to the guild. And that failure has helped me evolve over the course of the last almost 3, maybe almost 4 years, to really understanding what it is that I look for in my guild, what my members are looking for from me, and kind of what we can do to accomplish this goal together. Let's talk about why failure ends up being beneficial in a game, especially in a gaming sense. You pick up a brand new game for the first time, you've never played it before, say something like League of Legends, right? You open up the game, you hit play, and you go into a lobby, and it's filled with people that you've never met before. You have no background knowledge as to what a mid or a jungle or an ADC is, and you just want to try playing out the game, right? And you pick a character, and people flame you for picking, oh, well, why'd you pick a caster for ADC? Like, why did you pick this? And you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of playing the game. So you get in, you're playing the game, and you die to the enemy, and suddenly somebody calls you a noob, right? Or somebody says some mean, hurtful stuff. And in the moment, that feels horrible. You failed at it. You feel like you just can't succeed at this game. And you finish out the match, let's say you lose, and you're just really feeling down about it. You're like, maybe this game isn't for me. Even though you had fun with the mechanics of the game, somebody else might have ruined that experience. Or you played through the game, you had fun with the mechanics of it, but you just didn't do well. And when you didn't do well, that makes it very difficult to consider the enjoyment of the experience, right? When you've never done something before and you attempt it for the first time, you're not likely to succeed. Not without some kind of background knowledge or without some kind of training or, some kind of understanding of what's happening. But when you finish that thing and you come back and you rethink about how the game works or how this new task works, it gives you this opportunity to really learn something new. And building that new skill set will apply to other tasks, okay? For example, when you get really good at League of Legends, you get really good at positioning, you get really good at timing, you get really good at using certain abilities in a certain order or a certain cooldown, things like that. A lot of those skill sets kind of transfer to World of Warcraft. Somebody who's really good at League of Legends and has a very strong understanding of League of Legends can very quickly pick up the differences between League of Legends and World of Warcraft. Obviously, the movement's very different, the abilities are all very different, the classes are all very different. But at the end of the day, World of Warcraft, and especially raiding and dungeons, it's all positional based. It's where am I standing? When am I hitting my abilities? Should I be timing my cooldowns differently? How should I be interacting in this world versus like League of Legends, right? Now you take this same player who's gotten good at League of Legends and at World of Warcraft, and you drop them into a game like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds or Fortnite. This player's gonna, jump into this game. They're already really good at positioning. They're better at maneuvering around in a 3D space, and they're really good about understanding like how movement works in games and stuff. They're gonna be more quick to pick up the differences between League of Legends, World of Warcraft, and like PUBG. And over time, as you experience new and different things, every time you fail, it gives you a chance to learn a new skill. And every time you fail at something, it's not a reflection of you as a person, it's a reflection of your current skill set. When you have the right skill set, you are significantly more likely to succeed at something. Somebody who's really good at programming in Python is very quickly going to pick up the ability to program in other programming languages because they have the knowledge and the background understanding of how programming works. Now it's just learning about the differences between the two different things. Somebody who's like really good at guitar could pretty easily pick up another instrument, maybe like a violin or something, and get to a point where they could probably play it, maybe not at a master level, maybe not even in a band, but something that they could, start practicing towards it. They're not going to be coming in with a complete blank slate of information. Picking up a guitar and playing it for the first time with no other background knowledge on how to read notes, how to read a tablature, it's daunting. I've done it before. It's scary. But then as you pluck at the strings and you start to understand, okay, well, if I put my finger here and I strum a certain way, it makes this type of sound. Over time, these small failures, because you're failing to succeed at playing a song, will eventually build up to you understanding some of the different notes or some of the different chords. And then as you put together these notes and chords, well, now you've played a song. Well, now that you've played one song, now you can play an album. Now that you can play an album, you could go find some bandmates and use those bandmates to record new music. But if you hadn't picked up the guitar in the first place and you've never struck a chord, you wouldn't be in a band. You wouldn't be a rock star. You wouldn't be the next Metallica. You would just be me. So when I say that failure is not a big deal, and that sounds like terrifying, like, what do you mean failure is not a big deal? Failure is simply the road to success. It's the next step towards getting good at something. When I tell my friends jokingly to get good at something, I'm not saying that they themselves are a failure. I'm saying that they could use some new skill sets in order to help them succeed. When you remove yourself from the situation and you stop thinking of it as a pass-fail and more of a how do I get from here to there, you are going to notice significant gains, whether it's gaming, whether it's relationships, whether it's a new skill set like learning a guitar or playing basketball for the first time. You're not going to pick up something new and master it immediately. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take failure. But that failure is going to dramatically improve your skill set. Every time you fail at something, it is an opportunity for you to get better at something. So to wrap this up, let's come full circle here. Gaming is a very safe place to fail at something. When you go into a new dungeon for the first time in World of Warcraft, when you boot up a new video game for the first time and you play through it, you're going to mess it up. It's okay. Some people might disagree. Some people might say, oh, well, you should have known everything there was to know about this before you picked it up, right? But if you pick up a controller and you play Rocket League for the first time, you're going to have a hard time even moving your car, let alone hitting it into the goal. That's okay. What these failures will do is over the course of time, as you practice and as you get better, every time you think about that time you failed the first time you played, it's going to remind you that you've come so far in how much better you are at something. The first time you get a spike kill in Smash, the first time you shoot a goal in Rocket League, you're going to be like, wow, I remember just a week or so ago I couldn't do this before. Or you're going to remember the time 10 years ago when you first picked up this game and now you're a master at it. But you're going to look back and say, hey, if I hadn't messed up that one time, I wouldn't be where I am today. And that's why I think failure is so important. And the beautiful part about failure is, especially in gaming, it's so safe. It's so free. Failing at like a new job, right, is scary because if you don't do well at a new job, you might get written up. You could potentially be let go. And without that job, you can't pay the bills, right? But in a video game, you boot up Rocket League for the first time and you miss every single shot you take. Well, that's okay, because at least you're attempting to take that shot. And as Wayne Gretsky said, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Over time, you'll build up those skills, you'll build up that muscle memory to the point where you don't think so much about how to move your car around. You're gonna start thinking more about how should I maneuver through here. You're gonna start thinking about different strategies on how you and your teammates can move around and how you can pass the ball back and forth and stuff. And at the end of the day, if you do fail and you don't win the game, who cares? It's a game. It's not gonna impact you in the end of the day. People might say some mean stuff. It's the internet. People are terrible. At the end of the day, just block them and move on. Every time you fail, the most important thing is not to think about what other people think about how you did or how you performed, but instead to reflect on that situation and say, okay, in the future, the next time I attempt XYZ, I'm going to try this and I'm going to do this differently. And at the end of the day, once you've done this kind of reflection and this inner monologue, you're going to come out with a much better game plan on how you want to handle this in the future. And sure, you might try something for the first time and you might fail at it and you might decide this isn't for me. But that's not likely going to be because you are bad at the thing. It's because you don't enjoy the thing. If you run a plus 25 dungeon in World of Warcraft and end up not enjoying it, that's okay. That you don't have to do that again. If you try raiding for the first time and you're like, wow, I really did not have any fun with this whatsoever, don't do it again. That failure is not indicative of you as a person. It is more indicative of your interests. So if you try something for the first time and you end up not having fun with it, don't grind. Don't push your head to the grindstone and force yourself into enjoying it. That's not going to work. And at the end of the day, all that's going to do is it's going to make you resent the thing you're trying. At the end of the day, rather than being concerned about how you performed in the thing you didn't enjoy, just think about what it was that you didn't enjoy about it. And now you know to work to avoid other things like that or attempt similar things from other skill sets, right? It's funny, I'm about to embark on a new journey for myself. My wife is 9 months pregnant. Our son should be born here in about just under 2 weeks. And that is something that is both incredibly daunting, but also very exciting. You know, I'm very fortunate that my wife and I have been able to end up in this position where we're going to be bringing new life into this world. And I feel that I'm finally ready to teach information to a newborn, to a young child that depends on me. I feel ready that I can provide this experience to my children that I didn't have, or help them through the feelings that they're having, knowing that I've been through these things as well. And I think that it's the knowledge of my yet unborn son coming into the world soon that kind of sparked me to make this video. I want my son to be able to look at this video and say, hey, my dad understands what this is about. But with all this being said, guys, I really appreciate you watching through this. This is just me kind of rambling to a camera. I had a very rough guideline on what I wanted to talk about and how to, put this information forward. But at the end of the day, this is just me kind of spewing some information out at you, and I really appreciate you watching through to the end of the video here. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to catch us some more, thankfully now that I've got this new setup, I should be able to put some more content out. Obviously with the sun coming along very soon, that'll be very difficult, or at least very trying. But I will be doing my best to get a video out at least once every other week if I can. But if you like this content and you want to see more of just life lessons or rambling videos from Kevin, just drop a like on the video, throw a comment in the comment box down below, hit subscribe. Just let me know, and I'm happy to do more of this stuff. At least until the next time, guys. I hope you all stay safe, and see you next time. Peace out.